My name is Emiel van den Blok. I'm responsible within Impartner for all the partner marketing automation solutions. And before I'm introducing Torkel, I just have one question. Who's using AI today? Please raise your fingers. I can't believe if you don't raise your finger. ChatGPT. Who's using ChatGPT? Right? Okay. Now my other question is like, who creates AI? Who builds AI themselves? You do. Very interesting. We need to talk later on. You can see, I think most people use AI today because of generative AI, because of ChatGPT, everything that's out there. However, there are not a lot of people that create AI. And that's my privilege here. It's a real honor to be on stage together with Torkel, all the way from Sweden. He is one of those guys that knows everything about AI. I call him always my AI brain, because that's what he is. And it's a pleasure to talk with him. So today, during this session, we will explore a little bit more about AI. And who's been in this session before with Jay McBain? Yeah. So you heard him saying about Impartner, like, these guys have this incredible Google Ads technology, right? Unique in the world. Well, that's the technology that we've been building together with Torkel, with the AI component. So we will dive into that a little bit as well. Yeah? Before I'm going to go into the presentation, I just want to mention Torkel Oman. He's the CTO of Amanda AI, a Swedish company. We've been working together now. I just looked back in my emails. It started 2019, and I just want to tell this story. So we have this Google Ads solution that we can run Google Ads campaigns through partners, fully automated technology. And 2019, we were already working with Google, and we had our solution. But you know, if you've got a Google Ads campaign, you need to optimize the Google Ads campaign, right? And we were struggling a little bit with this because we had manpower. We needed manpower to do that for, let's say, hundreds of partners. So then I first meeting with Torkel, and he said, like, well, I've got a solution for you. It's an AI solution, and I can tell you, let us take over the optimization. We do it fully automatically, and we will have a better performance. And for me, like, he had this beautiful presentation. I thought, like, this is too good to be true. I don't believe it. But, you know, he convinced me. So I said, okay, we'll do a pilot with one of our bigger customers, and let's see. And the results, 6 months later, the cost per lead went down 25%. So it was very simple. I was convinced. And he was doing his magic with his platform. So he just wanted to give you that sort of insight, like, what is that magic that we reduced the cost per lead with 25%. So I just want to say like this one. If the only tool you have is a hammer, you tend to see every problem as a nail. So what has this to do with AI? Maybe nail, because AI is in the word nail, but it has nothing to do with that. No, what it is like, if you've got a hammer, like if I've got a son, he's 11 years old. I think if I give him the hammer, he doesn't know yet what the use case is of the hammer. So he starts hitting the wall, he starts hitting a book. I've just got 2 sisters. He might hit his sister, which is not a good idea, but my brother actually did it with me, so I've got a scar here. When we were young, he was just hitting the wall, and then I was behind it, and, you know, I got this. So what I want to say, like, if you don't know the use case, then that hammer, you want to use it for everything. And I think when, in 2022, ChatGPT was launched, we all behaved like a bunch of kids, right? Including myself. So we thought like, oh, that's the AI, we can do everything with it. And I started exploring a little bit straight away. So I started making stories. So I said like, ChatGPT, give me a funny story about my beautiful wife, my 3 naughty kids, and the hero father. And then beautiful stories come. I would recommend to do that because we had lots of fun together with the family, just with ChatGPT. So we started using it. But is that the use case? I don't know, right? But there's a lot of use cases. We also started using it different because we said, hey, ChatGPT, you also have Midjourney, and you can create pictures. So let me go through. So you can see this artwork. And I'm actually proud of this one because the pictures in the middle, these are drawn by my daughter, when she was 15 years old. She's a little bit of an artist, she's going to study arts. And I told her, like, what we're going to do with your art is we're going to put it into the AI, and we're going to ask the AI to make all kinds of different versions of your art. And this is the result of it. It's pretty amazing, right? I was really amazed, because I didn't know how it works. So I'm very intrigued by that. Like, how does this work? How can the AI do this? So I'm going to explain just very, very briefly about, let's say, generative AI, and I don't want to go into any details here, but just as a little exercise before we go to, get the real stuff from the AI brain next to me. So AI ChatGPT is a language model, right? It's a large language model. It's pre-trained with a lot of information out there, and it's actually a probabilistic model because it's making the sort of guess like what would be the next word in a sentence or in a token of words. So because the correlation is very high. If you have a certain sentence and then you want to guess the next word, correlation is very high, so you can predict what is the next word. But actually, that's what it is doing. That's what ChatGPT is doing, the large language model is doing. So let's do just one exercise, because I don't want to go into any details here. Now I'm going to practice this one with you. So this is what ChatGPT is doing, or a large language model. I'm telling you, the sky is. Tell me, what's the next word? Blue. Anything else? Blue. Sorry? The limit. Sky's the limit. That's a good one as well. Yeah. So you can see, this is something that, you would say sky, the sky is the limit. Now I'm going to change the word tokens. I'm going to add a couple of word tokens. There you go. The sun is setting, the sky is done. Pink? Orange. Gorgeous. There you go. Right? So I just want to say, this is actually what a language model is doing, right? It's very simplified, but that's the prediction, the probability that the next word come up. If I would say the sun is setting, the sky is delicious, that sounds a bit strange, right? So that's most probably, if you look at all the data out there, what I'm going to do in my next slide. All the data that the AI ChatGPT is trained on, like everything from the web, everything like digitized books, scientific journals, Wikipedia, everything is in there. So it's a lot of data. But it might be that the sentence, the sky is delicious, maybe doesn't exist yet. So in an empirical model, it couldn't create this. But with a language model, it can create this. And this is what we call, let's say, the hallucination effect. Right? ChatGPT can make up things that doesn't exist. That's why some people say this is not true. ChatGPT is giving me the wrong answers to the questions. So you have to be careful there. But however, if I would put the sentence to Midjourney, and I say to Midjourney, please create a picture for me with the sky is delicious, I might end up with this picture. Right? A delicious sky, it looks like cotton candy. Right? But that's what I created this one with Midjourney, so I just wanted this as an example. But this is what ChatGPT can do. This is what the generative AI can do. It has this hallucination, so it can create things that never existed before. It's really very funny. But then the next question is that hallucination, is that actually a feature, or is that a bug? Who says it's a feature? You say? And who says it's a bug actually of the system? Because I get the wrong answers, right? I type in my name and say which books did I write, and I get the wrong books. So is it a bug? Who says it's a bug? Nobody? Oh, interested. Oh, one, I think. There we go. I think it's a feature for creativity. Right? You just saw it. It can create new things that never existed before. But it might be a bug for fact-based applications. So be careful how you use it. And again, I think George will explain more around this. Go to let's say the use case of this one, where you can already find a little bit the things here. So if I would say, if you've got ChatGPT, generative AI, can you use it to discover market trends? Who's saying yes, you can do that? And who's saying you can't do it? Yes, so you say you can't do it, indeed. Because ChatGPT is just predicting the next words. It doesn't have any knowledge around market trends or going on, so you can't use it. So in that sense, it's the hammer, right? You can try to use it, but it's not suitable for it. It's like hitting your sister. Don't do it. It gives you the wrong results. Don't do it. So what about SEO? So automated SEO keyword research, maybe a little bit more difficult. Who's saying hey, you can use ChatGPT for automated SEO keyword research? You say. Yeah. So you have to be careful here as well. Because you can definitely use ChatGPT to say, give me suggestions for keywords. You can do that. You can't optimize your campaign with it, It just knows like, oh, these are some suggestions, but it doesn't say whether those keywords are going to be performance or delivering performance. So it can help you, but it can't automate. And that's something that talking with the company has been doing. They can automate it. They can say like, oh no, these keywords are not good and these keywords are good. And they can create keywords. It's not generative AI. It's just a different AI. Yeah. So just want to say like, be careful with the hammer. Don't hit everything. You only hit the nail, right? And know what that nail is, whatever AI you're using. That's what we want to explain. So last thing is, this is a huge trend going on. Right? This is something everybody knows, like we can't take this away anymore. It's the fourth industrial revolution, and basically it's all about intelligence. Right? It's about intelligence that will change all our jobs. But we just need to find out how we're going to change the jobs and what the use case is for those jobs. So if we talk about intelligence, then I'm going to hand it over to Torkel, because Torkel, could you explain to the audience, if we talk about intelligence, what are we talking about? What is intelligence here?
Talking about you, Emil. Yeah, we're going to talk a bit about different types of intelligence, and I just want to set the stage as well what we're trying to achieve with this presentation. I think that a lot of times presentations about AI either get too technical and too difficult to understand, or too general so you don't really know how to apply it. And I think that it is partly because of what Emil said, we're inside this huge revolution, this huge shift. We have news coming out about AI and new models and new applications constantly, and the people talking about it, they are often very technical. It's often the people who have developed it or been some type of architect who talks about it. And then it's quite easy that it becomes very complex, and a lot of people think that, yeah, AI is cool, but what is its real live applications? How can I use it? How can I understand it? It sort of feels very, very complex. But that is true for whatever you look at. If we look at cell phones, those are incredibly complicated. It's a magic box that sends your voice through radio waves across the country or across the city, and it's your actual voice that comes out on the other side. I don't think that many people can explain how that works, but you can still see, okay, so what are the possible applications? What are the real-life usages that I can use for cell phones or for mouse or keyboards or whatever it is? So we're going to try to give you an idea of the capabilities and the possibilities and the real-life applications that you can use today when we're talking about AI. And if you want to shorten this down to a very short sentence that I'm going to come back to, what we have achieved, I say we, it's actually not, but we as humanity, is that we have changed from telling computers what to do and how to do it, to just telling computers what to do and not the how. And that is an incredible shift that we're going to talk a little bit more about. But in order to understand what is AI suitable for, what can we do, where do machines outperform humans, we need to sort of divide that a little bit more, because humans can do so much different things, and there's different types of intelligence. This is quite a hot topic in sort of this area, so I'm not going to kick that hornet's nest. We're going to go with uncontroversial definitions of intelligence, and we're going to take a few where machines outperform humans by quite a bit. Notice that LLMs and language recognition isn't a part of this, because it's still debatable if machines outperform humans in terms of language comprehension and language creation. It isn't a set deal that ChatGPT is better at creating texts and understanding texts than humans, but in combination with the language comprehension, it is better in terms of the volume it can comprehend and the speed that it can do it. So, if we take complexity, it's quite basic. It's how complex calculations can you do, and it's not really it's not a competition. I mean, machines can do extremely complex calculations. It can do extremely large calculations, running for days and years, and I mean, it's not a competition. But that doesn't mean that they come up with these complex calculations and these complex problems. It's still humans who comes up with the problems, and they put it into a calculation that a computer sort of has to do. And then we have volume, and volume is quite an interesting one, because if we're talking about volume that is accessible, volume that you can access and apply when you want, then machines have us outperformed by quite a bit. I think the world record for remembering digits of pi is something like 83,000 digits, which is incredibly impressive if you're human, but you're not beating a single USB stick in sort of remembering a character or anything. And if you take speed, so let's say you're working in an accountant, you understand the complexity of addition, you can sort of make the 2 plus 2 calculation. You have the volume to remember those two numbers. You can remember 2 plus 2, and you know that it equals 4. But it takes you 5 minutes to do it. That is sort of not very intelligent. And if you combine all these, you get the sort of building blocks for chess, for being a good chess player. And it was 30 years ago, almost 27 years ago, we got beat by machines in chess. A game which I think everyone can accept that in order to be good at chess you need to be quite intelligent, but we haven't stood this chance against a computer for almost 30 years. And every single one of you here can beat Magnus Carlsen, the current world championship champion, if you just use your phone and an easy application on that phone. And that isn't even AI, that's just a beautiful algorithm. This is a shift that's been going on for quite some time, and I think many people don't really comprehend the volume and the effect that this is going to have across the board, across all different types of labor and workforce.
Yep. All right. Awesome. So complexity, volume, speed, the combination together, like a chess player, right? That's where you say like that's the combination can make it very dangerous. That's what it is. Would you say that if you look at the human intelligence versus the machine intelligence, how would you explain that one?
Yeah, and that's a very, very good sort of question, almost as if we have rehearsed this.
Crazy. This was not like my slide. This is the AI background. He was just listening.
No, but you have to keep in mind that machines are very different from people. They think in a different way, and people have inherent knowledge about things that are except their task, that are outside the task. The machine, it only knows what you've trained it on and sort of the goals you have set for it. It's quite easy to forget that, but it has quite big implications. There's a joke going around in sort of where it was when machine learning was taking off, that if I make 3 mistakes in a week, I get fired because I did a bad job. If I make 1,000 mistakes in 1 hour, it's called machine learning, and everyone praises it. And that's sort of the basis for machine learning. It has to test because it doesn't have an inherent knowledge about anything else. So for it to gain new knowledge, it needs to test, it needs to evaluate results, and it needs to know, have I done a good job? Can I pat myself on the back, give myself a cookie because this was a job well done? And I think that there's a guy called Richard Feynman who has some great lectures about this on YouTube. It's from the 80s, so it's a long time ago, but he had a very good visual example of how to compare humans and sort of nature. And he explained it like this, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, if you look at nature and you were going to do something that moves across the ground, that transports across the ground in great speed, you would do something bipedal or quadruple pedal, something that runs something on. But instead we have motorcycles, which are much more energy efficient and much, much faster. If we were to look at nature and we were going to build something that flies, we would look at birds, and we would do planes that sort of flaps the wings. But we have jet engines instead. And same here, they are much, much more energy efficient and extremely much more faster. So you need to keep that in mind, that machines are not people. Machines work on methodology and they work from the data you train them on. But you cannot accept them to think and to come to conclusions in the same way as you do as a human.
So what is it? So you basically mentioned, right, it would be a plane that was just doing its wings like this. So the humans are different thinking, or thinking in a different way. So if you look at the AI itself, what would it be suited for?
Yeah. It is the sentence I began with, that it is the big shift from telling computers what to do and how to do it. And that might seem as a small shift, but it is an incredible shift. It's a democratization of labor, of workforce, of hours, where you previously needed to tell the machine what you were about to do. So you open a Word document and you type on the keyboards, and that is sort of the how. It generates the text. Now you can use ChatGPT instead. You previously had to code hundreds of thousands of rows of code. Now you can get that help. You can get it created by an AI. Small piece is that the coding tools are not yet as good as so that you can replace hundreds of hours of workforce or thousands of hours of workforce. But we're so close. And I think we're talking about not years, but months before we have something that can do the work of a whole department of hundreds of developers. And that is a democratization of the labor. Something that previously required a lot of resources and big companies now only requires you to understand the possibilities and the applications of it. And it's fairly cheap to do this. So it gives this sort of this platform for almost anyone to create anything, and that is a big shift. Sundar famously said that it's equivalent to inventing the fire. There's a lot of analogies, sort of the Industrial Revolution and so on. I like to compare it with electricity. We are in the moment where we have developed electricity 2.0. So we have this new technology that so much other stuff can build upon. When electricity was enabled for everyone, you didn't have a technology resistance to a lot of different products. You had all the technology to build vacuum cleaners, fans, mixers, blenders, but it still took decades before electricity was commercially available for those products to develop. And we sort of have the same thing with AI now. We have this huge force of power, which we have a gap between the technology available and the applications from especially businesses. And I think that big divider, one of them is that you need to have business people who understand applications and sort of understand what can we utilize this for. I think that's where the big sort of misalignment is, because there's a lot of tools that are really, really easy. You don't need to be a senior developer to do a chat agent, to do some reinforced learning methods, to do some recommendations. You don't need senior technical developers to do that, but you need someone who says that this is what you want to build, and this is how it should work. And you have to be quite careful there. If we take a real-life example, eBay, they have a generative AI that writes product descriptions. So huge win for them, great application of AI. It's a hassle for everyone who wants to sell something. They need to write titles, descriptions, bullets, and everything. And if the descriptions are good, conversion rates goes up. So it's sort of a very, very good application for eBay. Now, if they had set the goal, and they trained it on, I think it was 20 billion listings, so it's a huge data set. But if they had set the goal of this generation only to be conversion rate, like the only goal of this AI would be to increase conversion rate, they would have built a monster, a lying, horrible monster that described every piece of crap car as gold-plated and sort of worth $1 million, if that would have been the only goal. Now, they were quite smart when they did it, so they trained it both on conversion rates, on return rates, and on ratings, both from seller and from buyer, so they sort of balanced that out, so you have an honest description of this. But you need to be very careful, because it's very easy to build something that doesn't do what you intended it to do.
Yeah. I've got another example. I read it last week in the newspaper. That agent itself didn't want to do it, but he used the right prompts to make it happen. And that's all over the news, at least in the Netherlands, it was all over the news. It's really funny, but you have to be careful, right? What you're doing as a service. Normally a person would never do that. They wouldn't say like, oh yeah, our company is crap, and using swear words, right? That's not good, they will be fired. But the chat agent is difficult to fire, so you need to reconfigure it. Yes. So, and I like the analogy with the electricity. Again, electricity was created, and we didn't know what we could use. What can we build to use electronically? Today, it's like a smartphone. We didn't think about when electricity was founded, but you could have a smartphone, right? So and that's the same with AI. That's what you're saying. So in the next coming years, there will be so many additional new applications that we don't think about today that could, change the world in the better and the worse, of course. But think about the climate change, right? I'm 100% sure that AI will have a huge part there to solve problems that we can't solve today. And that's the very interesting and magic thing, I think, of an invention like this. And hopefully it's not used in the worst way, but we can expect that it will happen, right? But let's be positive. Let's go into some more use cases. Not in the use cases yet. This is around, we had a discussion around ChatGPT, generative AI. I think it's good to explain a little bit about the different types of AI.
Yeah, I mean, ChatGPT is the big one. It's the one everyone talks about. It's the one most people have tried. We've been around for 6 years. We have different types of AI. We have optimization AI and predictive AI and reinforced learning and stuff like that. And I think the analogy with electricity goes quite well here as well. Just as if you're building a product that runs on electricity, you need different components. So you need different parts. You need transistors and resistances and stuff like that. And it's the same thing with AI. Even ChatGPT isn't only a large language model. It also has a way of reinforce positive feedback and positive engagement and learn what is it that is doing good and what is it that is doing bad. And even within large language models, ChatGPT isn't the only one. There are hundreds of different LLMs that you can use, and you sort of have to use the right tool for the right application. ChatGPT knows how to do a bouillabaisse and it can explain quantum physics. Perhaps that's not necessary if you want a chat agent that answers questions about your website. Perhaps you can use a smaller model that doesn't take as much energy and is much more cost efficient. You have Gecko is one of the smallest ones. It costs 150,000 per prompt compared to ChatGPT. It can only manage a few hundred or a few thousand of pages of information. But if you want an agent just answering product questions or questions regarding your service, you don't need to use a bigger model. I mean, your customers won't ask it how to do a bouillabaisse. It doesn't need to be able to answer that. So I just think it's important to know that there are different types of it, and I think that the combination of different types of AI isn't talked about as much as it probably should be, because I think that a lot of people can understand the value of ChatGPT, for example, creating a landing page or creating a product page or creating an image with Dolly or with Midjourney. But ChatGPT isn't limited to creating one landing page. If you want to create landing pages or product content with ChatGPT, you have no reason not to create as many landing pages as you have visitors to A/B test for, and then feedback that information to ChatGPT so it knows which landing pages perform better, what are the common nominators, how do we improve this landing page, so that the task doesn't only become create this content, but create this content with the goal of this, with the goal of getting a conversion or a sign up or whatever it might be. But you have to sort of think about combining these two.
All right. So I'm just looking at the time. I don't know, is Rob French here still? So how much time do we still have? 15 minutes? Yeah. Oh, awesome. So just want to be sure that we touch the last subjects as well. So again, now looking into more, let's say, the marketing practices. So how could you use AI in marketing? We would love to hear from you, your examples, what you think, especially for this audience, right? What is it that they
Yeah, so there are a lot of applications. I think marketing is one of those domains where it's kind of perfect because you have measurable results, you have a complex environment, you have the unfortunate situation that people aren't rational, so you sort of have to do these complex things. But a few applications which are out there, which you can either build yourself, fairly simple, or take help with existing tools, are product recommendations on site, and that doesn't have to be products, it can be offerings, or it can be different types of navigating your web page. If I enter your site, I will have a different objective with that than email has. It's easiest to make understandable if we take an electronics homepage. If I go to the page, I do not want to see Apple products, I only want to see sort of Lenovo keyboards and Lenovo computers. Perhaps Emil wants to see Apple computers. To make that differentiation, you need something that is intelligent and you need something that learns. And it might sound really, really complex, but it isn't that difficult. Either you can do it by personalization, so it's actually personal information that you're presenting to this customer, or you can do it by cohorts. So basically you group together people with similar interest and you test what is the best result for this. Perhaps if you're an existing customer, you want to see the thing you are entering the site for is order information or contact information. Why not present that sort of straight away when that person enters the site? Why make them go through the hoops and loops of collecting all this stuff? These are not things that are difficult to implement. They're not even difficult to build with the tools that are available today. Same thing with the email automation. That's something that in my previous job we worked quite a lot with. If you know that a toner for a printer on average lasts 3 months, why not send out an email 2.5 months after they bought their last toner or cartridges and ask them, hey, isn't it time to purchase a new toner? If you have a sales cycle that contains of several different steps, you're going to have correlations between when you should do certain actions to increase the probability of moving them along the line of that funnel. And again, these aren't something that you need to have senior engineers. You can take students to this task as long as you have them well defined. Generative AI, but not by itself. I mean, that's the example I took earlier. If you want to create content, do it, but don't limit yourself to only creating one content page. Don't do it by only creating one image. If you're using images, you have your designers, you have your people taking photographs of sort of products or environments. Why not create variants of those images and see which one performs the best? And then you can have a learning model that learns what is it that actually works. You don't have to limit yourself to just one creation, even if you do that creation by human standards. Perhaps it's someone who writes the whole product page, but then you ask ChatGPT or similar, give me 10 variants of this, and then you need a methodology to test which one performs the best. But we're often limited to the sort of the volume of things. We're used to doing things in a certain way, and that needs to be changed a bit. Agents, the most also a very, very powerful and impactful thing you can do, and you can do it extremely easy. You can do it drag and drop in different tools. You don't even have to be a developer. You just upload the information that you want the agents to be trained on, and the agent is basically a chatbot. It's your version of ChatGPT, but you can train it on your data, you can give it your personality, and it only has access to your data. One of the larger online pharmacies in Sweden, they did this test, and they indexed all of their sites. So they indexed all the product information they had, they indexed all their manuals and all the sort of manuals to the medicine. They spent, I think, about 3 or 4 hours configuring the agent, and then it took some time to train it on the data it had, but there was nothing anyone needed to sort of do physical. So they had 3 hours of job. They uploaded all the documentation, and they did the quality tests as you have with pharmacies, because you need to have a certain accuracy when you outperformed the customer care department by quite a bit. And the more complex the question, the more difference it was in the accuracy. This company, they don't use that agent front-facing for customers, but they use it for their customer care to get more accurate answers quicker than they have to do previously when they had to search and they had to look at the manuals and they had to go through all the training. But it's an incredible tool for them to use and then to take that question out to the customer. So you don't have to do it to replace things, you can do it to enhance things as well.
So we've got about 2 minutes left.
2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Oh.
Time is flying.
No, sorry.
So the last thing is around, let's say, the Google Ads solution itself, right? So if you use the AI as you have, so again, just to explain, right, the Google Ads solution, it enables your partners to run Google Ads campaigns. They don't have to do anything, right? That's what we've been building. So that magic behind, let's say, that optimization. Could you explain a little bit more about that one in just 1.5 minutes?
1.5 minutes? Yeah, sure. It's a challenge. Yeah, but so what we built is you have a methodology for everything you do, regardless if we're talking about marketing or if you're talking about writing a text or anything. You have a methodology. This is how I do X, Y, and Z. If we're talking about marketing in Google Ads, this is how I evaluate an ad. This is how I evaluate the keyword. This is how I evaluate the search term. This is how I pace the budget. We have put all that into automation. So we have the framework for how you do it manually, but we do it automatically. So we basically evaluate everything on an account as many times as we can per day, as granular as the data allows us to. So you're basically getting the best performing ads account for every single of your customers, of your accounts. And the machine doesn't care if it's 100 accounts or 10,000 accounts, if it's 50 different languages, if it's 100 different languages, it doesn't care about that. It will take data-driven decisions on everything, every single day. And the beautiful thing with the solutions we have together is that we can aggregate this data. So we can take the data from all the different partners, and we can aggregate it, and we can look at, okay, so we have very small budgets for each and every single account, but if we bolt them together, we can see these are the patterns, these are the audiences that perform the best, these are the keywords that perform the best, these are the trends for these different types of industries or whatever it might be.
So what we see in the system is that the system is doing around 1,000 changes per day per account. So if we've got, let's say, 50 partners participating, it's 50,000 changes. So I can only say, like, let's try that manually, right? You can't do that. So that's the power, it's that complexity, it's the volume, it's the speed. Combined everything together, which makes this pretty unique. I would say if you want to learn a little bit more, then talk to Torkel. He's more than happy to explain more. I will explain more during the product roadmap session, just a little bit around some other use cases that we are doing today. But I think the main message here is actually, you can't ignore AI, that's 100% sure. There are use cases that you could apply actually tomorrow, because you can buy Google Ads. But there are other use cases that you can use as well. Some of you are using generative AI, but like the agents is a very nice solution, I think, which you can use tomorrow if you want to, right? Any questions before we gonna stop this presentation? I guess that you're gonna ask all these questions directly to Torkel.
Thank you, Torkel. Thank you, Emil. Really appreciate your time and expertise and sharing that with us today.